The Galactic Federation Military Academy's training grounds buzzed with activity, as cadets from 17 different species practiced combat maneuvers under the watchful eyes of their instructors. Among them stood Lisa Miller, a human cadet in her second year. She was shorter than most other species represented at the academy, with a frame that appeared fragile compared to the hulking Dravians or the armored Teltecs. Yet there was a quiet confidence in her stance that veterans recognized immediately. General Kraz of the Voltar Empire surveyed the training grounds with 6 golden eyes, his scaled skin gleaming under the artificial lights. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with a muscular frame evolved for a high-gravity homeworld, he exuded authority. His species had dominated galactic warfare for centuries before the formation of the Federation, and old prejudices died hard. Humans, he muttered to Commander Prax, his aide. Why do we continue accepting them into our ranks? They lack natural armor, possess no claws, have pathetic sensory capabilities, and come from a backwater planet. They're diplomats at best, not warriors. Commander Prax shifted uncomfortably. The Council mandated integration, sir. And their test scores. Test scores mean nothing in actual combat, General Kraz interrupted. Theory versus application, Commander. A fundamental difference. The general moved through the training area, inspecting the cadets with obvious disdain when he reached the human section. Lisa stood at attention, eyes forward, as protocol demanded. Her fellow human cadets tensed visibly as the intimidating Volturian approached. You, General Kraz pointed a clawed finger at Lisa. Human cadet, what combat experience do you possess that qualifies you to train alongside warriors born for battle? Lisa maintained her composure. 3 years in Earth's military service before joining the academy, sir. Specialized in adaptive combat techniques. The general scoffed, his jaw ridges flexing in what the academy's xenobiology courses had taught her was an expression of contempt. Adaptive combat? A fancy term for acknowledging your species' inferiority. With respect, sir, adaptation is how humans have survived, Lisa replied evenly. We study our opponents and leverage physics rather than relying solely on biological advantages. Several alien cadets murmured at her response. General Kraz's eyes narrowed dangerously. Federation regulations strictly prohibited superior officers from physically engaging with cadets during verbal assessments, a rule implemented after several incidents involving species with drastically different physiologies. Theory, the general repeated dismissively. Your species always hides behind theories and regulations. What happened next occurred so quickly that many observers would later disagree on the sequence of events. General Kraz moved with the lightning speed his species was known for, his massive hand striking toward Lisa's shoulder. Not a training move, but a disciplinary one meant to force her to the ground, as was customary in Voltarian military culture. Lisa didn't flinch or attempt to dodge. Instead, as the general's hand connected with her shoulder, her left hand came up in a fluid motion, fingers finding precise pressure points on the Voltarian's wrist joint. She twisted sharply while simultaneously shifting her weight. The training hall fell silent as the 8-foot general found himself suddenly off balance, his wrist caught in an immobilizing hold by a human half his size. The maneuver wasn't aggressive. Lisa maintained perfect regulation posture, but the general was effectively neutralized. One wrong move would result in a broken wrist, regardless of his superior strength. Release me immediately. General Kraz demanded, his voice thundering across the hall. Sir, with respect, you struck a cadet during a verbal assessment. Academy regulations require me to defend myself with appropriate force. Lisa stated calmly. I am applying the minimum necessary pressure to ensure my safety while awaiting instructions from the supervising officer. Commander Prax stood frozen, caught between military hierarchy and the Academy's strict protocols. Other instructors were already moving toward the scene, alert to the potential diplomatic incident unfolding. Cadet Miller is correct, announced Academy Director Thorne, his voice cutting through the tension as he approached. General Kraz, you have violated Protocol 17B. The cadet has responded with appropriate restraint. I suggest you withdraw your hand and we can address this incident properly. For 3 tense seconds, the general's 6 eyes burned with fury, Then, recognizing the political ramifications of escalating further, he relaxed his posture in the universal sign of non-aggression. Lisa immediately released his wrist and resumed her stance at attention. An interesting demonstration of your adaptive techniques, General Kraz said, flexing his wrist. There was a new note in his voice. Not quite respect, but recognition. Though you should know, human, that on my world such a response would have led to severe consequences. On your world, perhaps, Lisa acknowledged. But we're not on your world, sir. We're at the academy where all species learn from each other's strengths. The general's expression shifted subtly. You disabled me using pressure points. That technique isn't taught until fourth-year specialized combat courses. No, sir, it's not in the academy curriculum, Lisa agreed. It's an earth technique called Aikido, developed by humans who needed to defend against physically superior opponents. Director Thorne stepped between them. General Kraz, I believe. This inadvertent demonstration proves exactly why humans have earned their place at the academy. Not through raw strength, but through innovation and precision. As the director led the general away, Commander Prax lingered briefly. That was impressive, Cadet. Most species would have either cowered or escalated. Neither approach would have ended well. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Humans have always been caught between predators with sharper teeth and prey with faster legs, Commander. We learned long ago that the most dangerous weapon isn't claws or armor. It's knowing exactly where and when to apply pressure. Word of the incident spread through the academy before the day's end. While some viewed it as merely an interesting anecdote, veterans recognized it as something more significant. A perfect example of why humans, despite their apparent physical limitations, had earned their place among the stars. When training resumed, the following day Lisa noticed something had changed. The alien cadets watched her with new eyes, not just as an oddity from a backwater planet, but as someone who had valuable insights to share. And from the administrative tower, 6 golden eyes occasionally glanced toward the human section of the training grounds, reassessing long-held assumptions about strength, adaptability, and the many forms of power.